hope you found it well. Today's lesson will be reactions of acids. On the previous lessons, we have done the types of reactions. But today, on this lesson, we are going to concentrate on the reactions that only acids can do. What is neutralization? The chemical reaction between an acid and an alkali is called neutralization. The chemical reaction between an acid and an alkali can be written as acid plus alkali will give salt and water. Remind, the acid can be hydroacid or oxyacid. Neutralizing stings. We have two examples here. Bee stings are acidic. Which safe household substances could you use to treat the bee sting? Wasp stings are alkaline. Which safe household substances could you use to treat the wasp sting? Answer me that through email. Making salts. The salt produced by neutralization reaction depends on the acid and the alkali that is used. Sodium chloride, for example, is produced by the reaction between hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. Which acid and which alkali would be needed to make salt potassium chloride? Hydrochloric acid and potassium hydroxide will give potassium chloride and water. When an alkali reacts with the hydrochloric acid, the salt produced is chloride. When an alkali reacts with sulfuric acid, the salt produced is sulfate, SO4. When an alkali reacts with nitric acid, the salt produced will be a nitrate, NO3. Which acid would be needed to make these salts? Copper nitrate, magnesium chloride, and sodium sulfate. Now, you have to do as a classwork. Complete the word equations for the neutralization. Hydrochloric acid plus lithium hydroxide. Hydrochloric acid that will produce iron chloride. Sulfuric acid plus magnesium hydroxide will give magnesium sulfate plus another product. Sulfuric acid plus calcium hydroxide will produce a salt plus water. You have to find here the product and how water is prepared. Balancing equations now. When a chemical reaction occurs, it can be described by a symbol equation. The balance symbol equation for a chemical reaction shows the ratio of the reactants and products involved. For example, sulfuric acid H2SO4 plus sodium hydroxide NaOH will give sodium sulfate Na2SO4 plus water. We have to balance it. Remember, on the previous lesson I said we have to check how many elements are on the reactant side must be equal with the elements in the product side. An unbalanced equation can be balanced by multiplying the different atoms of the molecules and each side by different amounts so that they match. If you count the number of atoms of each type of side of the equation, you will see that they do not match. So, we multiply the sodium atoms on the left by 2. Now the number of sodium atoms on each side is equal. The number of hydrogen atoms on the left side has increased. So, we multiply the number of hydrogen atoms on the right by 2 to make it equal. Now, indigestion remedies. The acid on our stomach that helps you break down our food is called hydrochloric acid, HCl. It has a pH between 1 and 2, which means it's a very strong acid. Indigestion and heartburn are caused by an excess of acid in your stomach. Indigestion remedies such as milk of magnesia contain antacids like magnesium oxide and calcium carbonate. What do you think antacids do to the acid on your stomach? You can answer it through email again. Now, reaction of acids that will occur with metal oxide. Metal oxides are compounds that are made from metal and oxygen. For example, magnesium plus oxygen will give magnesium oxide. Acids will react with metal oxides to make a salt and water. For example, sulfuric acid will react with copper oxide to make copper sulfate and water. Base or alkali? I mentioned it on the previous lesson on the second semester that we said bases are substances that react with acid, which include metal oxides, hydroxides, and carbonates. Alkalis are the substances that react with acid which are soluble in water. That's the difference. Copper oxide is a base but not an alkali because it does not dissolve in water. Sodium hydroxide is an alkali and a base because it reacts with acid and it is soluble in water. Now, once again, complete these word equations. Magnesium oxide plus nitric acid, zinc oxide that will give zinc sulfate, iron oxide plus hydrochloric acid and magnesium nitrate. Another one is match the name of the acid to each formula. Sodium hydroxide, copper chloride, potassium nitrate, sulfuric acid, sodium sulfate, and nitric acid with each of these formulas. Formula. How do you know that the formula of sodium chloride is NaCl, while the formula of copper chloride is CuCl2? It is because the combining power of the atoms. Sodium has a combining power of 1, so it bonds with one other atom. The combining power is the charge. Chlorine has also combining power of 1, so it bonds with one other atom. Copper, though, has a combining power of 2, so it needs to bond with two chlorine atoms. The formula of magnesium chloride is MgCl2, so what do you think the combining power of magnesium is? Here are the combining powers of some metal and non-metal atoms. The metal atom, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and copper, combining power 1, 1, and both 2. Non-metal, chlorine, fluorine, oxygen, and nitrogen. The combining power for chlorine is 1, fluorine is 1, because they are in the same group. Oxygen is 2, and nitrogen is 3. Acids and carbonates. When the carbonate reacts with an acid, it gives us carbon dioxide gas. How could you test gas is given off to confirm that is a carbon dioxide? What would you observe in this text? The products on the reaction between the carbonate and an acid are salt, carbon dioxide, and water. Calcium carbonate is a substance that is naturally found in shells of sea creatures and snails. What salt do you think will be produced by the reaction of hydrochloric acid and calcium carbonate? We will get calcium chloride, carbon dioxide, and water. Once again, another exercise. Complete these word equations. Sodium carbonate plus another reactant will give sodium nitrate plus another product plus water. Nitric acid plus one reactant will give calcium nitrate, carbon dioxide, and water. Zinc carbonate plus sulfuric acid will give 3 products, and another one is calcium carbonate. Acids and metal. Acids also react with metals to make a gas. When an acid reacts with metal, the gas produced makes a lighted splint and go pop, so it explodes. What is this gas? A salt is also produced during the reaction. What is the name of the salt that will be produced by the reaction of hydrochloric acid and calcium? We will get calcium chloride and hydrogen. Choose your reaction. Some metals react violently with acid, so it wouldn't be safe to use them to make a salt in the classroom. However, if you still wanted to make a salt, you could use a metal carbonate instead. Sodium reacts very violently with sulfuric acid, so should not be used to make sodium sulfate. However, we could safely use sodium carbonate. Sulfuric acid plus sodium carbonate will give sodium sulfate plus carbon dioxide and water. Could you safely use sodium hydroxide to make sodium sulfate? What about sodium oxide? Now, as a reminder, once again, the deadline for the mini project I gave last week is Saturday, 11th April. Thank you.